Nobody ever thinks about the bad girl, because the bad girls are sad. And everybody thinks about the good girl, because the good girls are glad.
Hey everybody, welcome back to A People's Historian, the show where we read about 30 minutes of history together. My name is Jason Kishinev, and we're reading Defining Moments in Black History by Dick Gregory. About halfway through the prologue, and we'll finish the prologue in this episode. If you like the episode, if you enjoy what you hear, hit that like and subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified when I make a new video, because YouTube has been known to unsubscribe people. And let's dig in. You know what you can do? Learn what black folks have already done and understand how smart and tough you needed to be to survive back then and now. Black folks are superheroes. We can be invisible when we have to be. Think about your mama's mama. Maybe she was a maid for white folks. Now, how many times have you been in a cab and started talking to your friend like the cab driver can't hear a thing? It was the same with your mama's mama, listening to white folks who forgot she was in the room. It was the same thing when the black folks worked at the hospital where they took Martin Luther King Jr. after he was shot on the balcony in Memphis. When they took him to the hospital, he was still alive, which is what the black people who worked there at the time told me. They said that as he lay on that gurney, King was spat on and then smothered to death. Our invisibility is part of our survival. We can even transform into cowboys, despite the fact that there was no evidence of a black cowboy back when I used to watch cowboys on TV. We got so we knew white folks. We had to, just to survive. Now it's time to know ourselves. It's time to value ourselves. Give you one example. I can't understand how Negroes, with all the humiliation we've been through, would join a black group, a fraternity, that would paddle their asses. We come from a history of humiliation. The white mob that was ready to do all kinds of crazy stuff to you and me. The folks in that mob didn't paddle one another's asses so they could be in the mob, so why would you do that to somebody who looks like you? And why would you up and volunteer to have somebody do that to you? The thing is, when you go outside this messed up country, everybody else in this messed up world thinks we're beautiful. Check this out. I used to go to Russia all the time. I took my wife Lil with me once. The subways in Russia go 3 miles down. So far down in the earth you think you're about to come out the other side. And clean? They're cleaner than any hospital you've got in America or any restaurant. Cleaner than anything you ever saw over here. Anyway, we're on the subway and people are looking at Lil. One of them comes up and stares right at her. And Lil looks at me and says, 30 million Russians ride the subway every day in Moscow. They're not doing this to one another. I can't believe you let these white folks do this to me. And do me like this, excuse me. And I said, yeah? The day I'll stand up for your honor, it won't be around 30 million Russians. The odds have got to be a little better than that. Then I thought of something and said, I've been coming over here 5 years and they ain't never looked at me like that. Then I figured it out. I said, the Russians had seen black American men all over the world as soldiers, but have never seen a black woman. And now they know how beautiful you are. That's what they're looking at. The way a child looks at a Christmas toy. That's who you are. I can't see it because a white racist system told me you ain't nothing beautiful. Red. A white racist system told me you ain't nothing beautiful. I can't see it because they told me your skin was too black and your hair was too nappy. Beauty is what the real world sees when they look at a black woman. It's what it sees when it looks at Lil. It's what it sees when it looks at Michelle Obama, Halle Berry, and Fannie Lou Hamer. Do not let me get started on fine women. Beauty, that's what the real world sees. Now, I don't see it, I told Lil, because these white folks done told me how ugly you are with them big lips and big nose and all that. Think about that now. For almost 50 years, the Russian people stood toe-to-toe with the United States of America in the Cold War. That's how tough and smart those people were. You hear me? And they're staring at my wife because she's beautiful. So that's the whole game of it. They see what we black folks don't see, what we need to start seeing. Know who you are. Value who you are. Knowing yourself and valuing yourself comes from knowing what's true and accurate. I went to Iran in the 1970s when the Ayatollah Khomeini was in charge, kicking America's ass. That is a brave trip to make. He sent his secretary, a man, to tell me that I had to leave the country that weekend because Iran had word they were going to be hit by a surprise attack from Iraq. No bite. Before I left, Khomeini sent me a long letter thanking me for being there. He wrote, "You are beautiful, Uncle Tom." He wrote, "You are beautiful, Uncle Tom." Now I had enough sense to know that the admiration he had for me was real. It was due to my own ignorance that I didn't know who Uncle Tom really was. One brother will call another one Uncle Tom like it's the worst insult he can pull out of his whole nappy head, not realizing that the original Uncle Tom was a hero who defied his master. Don't believe me? Go read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom was based on a real person, Josiah Henson. He rescued 118 black folks from slavery. I remember when I was a little boy, I heard the old black folks say, there's some people in Africa that white folks ain't never messed with and they're not going to mess with because they control everything. They said those people are the Uncle Toms, the shapeshifters. I just thought that meant that black folks could get real mean, not that they could change into gorillas or elephants or something crazy like that, but in a way, shapeshifters are what we are because black folks make ourselves into whatever we need to be to survive. Think about Napoleon. That short little French dude set out to conquer the world, and damn near did it too. He had the single greatest military capability in the history of the planet at that time, had all of Europe trembling while he conquered territory right and left. Then he went to the Americas. That was the first time that little dude messed up because it was the first time he messed with black folks. The black general Toussaint Louverture, now that was one smart man, had already led a slave revolt and taken over the French colony in Saint-Dominique, which is now Haiti. Napoleon decided he wanted the land back. He and his gang managed to trick Toussaint Louverture, who died in a French prison, but the rest of the black folks there gave the French troops such a fit that Napoleon finally said, "Later for this, we're out of here." Except it sounded nicer than that because it was said in French, and he left. Pulled out of the Americas, signed the Louisiana Purchase, and went the hell on back to France and didn't look back. All because of what happened when he decided to mess with black people. You hear what I'm trying to say? That's the power we have when we're together, when we do what we need to do. That's why we need to celebrate ourselves. We did that by ourselves. Nobody gave Toussaint Louverture and his soldiers any help. Many folks think that all blacks live off the system, but most of the time we keep surviving without anybody or anything except ourselves. Look at when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president during the Great Depression. Roosevelt said, "Let's create the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, which was meant to put white folks to work so they could earn a decent living. So now here's a white boy at the WPA digging a hole that doesn't need to be dug." His brother comes along that evening and fills it back up. Anyway, black folks weren't included. Yet we praise Roosevelt. Black folks didn't get included in Social Security either. Not the way it worked then, at least. Social Security initially didn't cover farmers and domestics, which is what 99% of black folks were at the time. Consequently, now all these black folks are out of work. How are we going to deal with it? We survived. You doing for me, me doing for you. Maybe I don't have the money to pay you for fixing my roof, but here are some jars of peaches. Or let me watch your children while you go to work. That's who I am. That's who you are. That's how we got by. In the history of the planet, nobody else went through what we as black people have been through and survived. That takes strength, smarts, and spirit. And other people see it, even the ones who don't want to admit it. That's why white folks have us take care of their children. Yes, half the time we raise their damn children for them. That's what they see in me that I don't see in me, that Holy Spirit. And then they try to tell me that I ain't nothing. They know. Consider this a minute. What German would hire a Jew to take care of his house? He'd sooner burn it to the ground. And I don't know a single black person who would hire a white person to take care of their child. But white folks go all over the world and leave my mama back there to feed their children and take care of them, dress them for school. That's what I'm trying to say. If you miss that, then you miss who we are. We feed them, take care of them. They are not dealing with slaves. They are dealing with people with no bitterness at all. That is who I am. Not just some slave they brought over. The sooner we understand what we are made of, the better off we'll be. In this book, I'm offering information on a variety of subjects and personalities that have influenced the world in a special way. Most of the stories come to me from my having been there. I marched in Selma during the Civil Rights Movement, organized student rallies to protest the Vietnam War, sat in at rallies for Native American and feminist rights, and fought apartheid in South Africa. I've also been to some incredible places and have met some amazing leaders along the way. I used to hang out with Congressman Adam Clayton Powell Jr. in Bimini. In Bimini, they have no hotels, no buildings, just one bar that's about a mile long. All the big folks from around the world went there on their planes or yachts and drank all day. The playwright Tennessee Williams, the writer Ernest Hemingway, the actress Judy Garland, and more. That's where they used to hang out. When I went there with Adam, man, I could not believe it. They loved Adam there. I mean, wow, man, just the #1 preacher in New York. I have been to see the Taj Mahal and the rest of that stuff in India. When I came back, people asked me, Greg, tell me, what was it like? I said, I'm going to disappoint you, baby. But what I found out when I got there is the way I used to feel at home when I had 5 caramels in one pocket, 6 in the other, and a pocket full of marbles. It's the kind of place where if you don't bring it with you, it won't be there when you get there. In 1968, I did a film with the writer James Baldwin. Baldwin's N-word. Baldwin was so brilliant. I would just sit and laugh and talk with him for long periods of time. He was like something God had just spat out. It was like God told him, you go down there, you'll have some problems, but you just keep doing it. 1,000 years from now, they'll still be reading what Baldwin wrote. And it will still be relevant then. But his writing doesn't let you know what a funny man he was. In addition to these incredible experiences, I've also been to jail. Anybody trying to change a country for the better, or by simply being a black man on a sunny day, is usually arrested. Par for the course. I went to jail on 9 counts for 9 months total for protesting. Jail is not pleasant under any circumstances, but I tried to make the best of it. They put me off in a private room because they knew I might stir up trouble. Another protest or something right inside the jail. There were bunk beds in my room. I took the bottom bunk and attached my book on meditation to the bunk above me to allow me to read hands-free. There's not a lot to do in jail, so I meditated for a long while. Next thing I knew, I heard a knocking sound. It was my head hitting the top bunk. I must have been going at it a while because there was blood on my forehead. After my body returned to the mattress, I said, "Oh, that's what meditation's about." Levitation. Several people witnessed my levitation. It's the fastest way to get out of jail, I'll tell you that. Self-knowledge and cultural pride can also give you a feeling of levitation. I am not sure whether he's implying that he actually levitated. I don't even know what to make of that, but I do hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you turn in. That was the end of the prologue, and we'll start chapter 1. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you then. Thank you.